you know Dilbert, right? Dilbert was in the newspapers forever.
Yes.
In the Sunday morning newspapers, in the Thursday newspapers, Dilbert was a staple for decades.
Yep.
And it was created by Scott Adams, who later became more of a right-wing commentator, but still made Dilbert stuff. And there's a YouTube channel that basically brings the Scott Adams Dilbert character to life in animation that are based off of the newspaper, cartoons.
It's his. I had his books. You know, sometimes if somebody had a comic strip, then they would, on occasion, release a book like an anthology of the strips. Yeah, I had Scott Adams.
Scott Adams did like self-help books, and he did other books other than just cartoons. Like he had I want to say 4 or 5 different books about self-help and all this stuff. It's like the dude was a smart guy. Yeah. Anyway, so this is. I'm sorry.
Real quick before we start, why I am so not attached to Scott Adams, but he's part of my life because I was in IT when I was in my 20s back in the 90s, which is when when Dilbert was huge. And he tried to capture like white collar office life.
Yeah.
Much like the movie Office Space, very similar. And he nailed it.
Yeah.
With the HR bitchy lady and the comic strip and all that. I'm like, this is what I'm living every day of my existence. He's bringing to life in his comics. So that's why
you can relate for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I respect him a lot.
Is there more to life than just working?
Yes, there's also the complaining about work, the nightly periods of unconsciousness, and sweet, sweet death.
Maybe I should have kids.
To share the joy?
Lately, every person I deal with seems to disappoint me. Every meeting starts late, every answer is misleading, every deadline is ignored, and all work is shoddily done. I guess what I'm saying is that today, I need some empathy.
You are totally blocking my view of the wall.
I guess the dog is supposed to be his wife, maybe.
Yes, to everyone. He wants everyone to be happy.
Now, he was canceled. I don't know if you're going to bring up a video explaining what he was canceled for.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
and I'll wait.
Yeah.
I did watch his videos on occasion when he's having coffee in the morning, coffee with Scott Adams or whatever he did, and I thought he was very, very smart fella.
Yeah. He's a pretty smart guy. It was hard to watch because you could tell that he was sick. So it's one of those things. It's like you watch him to appreciate it.
Yeah.
But it's like, that he's struggling big time.
Yeah. And it's, on a bigger level, and you would know this having had experience, but cancer doesn't give a fuck who you are.
Nope.
Or how smart you are or what color you are.
Not at all. Large organizations have had hard not to get into Dilbert. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Doc, I agree.
Okay, so I've got probably about 5 or 6 videos that we're going to watch. This is the comments because it's going to be brought up a few times. So this is the comment that people made a big shit about, and then I want to get your take on it. All right.
If nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed. Right? This can't be fixed. You just have to escape. So that's what I did. I went to a neighborhood where, I have a very low black population. Because unfortunately, there's a high correlation between the density. And this is according to Don Lemon, by the way. So here I'm just quoting Don Lemon. when he notes that when he lived in a mostly black neighborhood, there were a bunch of problems that he didn't see in white neighborhoods. So even Don Lemon sees a big difference in your own quality of living based on where you live and who's there. So I think it makes no sense whatsoever as a white citizen of America to try to help black citizens anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's no longer a rational impulse. And so I'm gonna back off from being helpful to black America because it doesn't seem like it pays off. Like I've been doing it all my life, and the only outcome is I get called a racist. That's the only outcome. It makes no sense to help black Americans if you're white. It's over. Don't even think it's worth trying. Totally not trying. And there we go. You didn't expect that today, did you? But those who don't want to focus on education, you just need to get away from them. Just get as much distance as you can. That's my recommendation. And I'm also really sick of seeing video after video of black Americans beating up non-black citizens. I realize it's anecdotal, and it doesn't give me a full picture of what's happening. But every damn day I look on social media and there's some black person beating the shit out of some white person. I'm kind of over it.
Thoughts? That's what he got canceled over.
Okay. First off, I 1000% agree with him. He's absolutely right. But here's my, well, it's not an issue with him. Do you know, believe me, if a white person has lots of money, they will go as far as they can away from a black majority neighborhood to live.
Yeah.
Like Scott Adams has a lot of money, so he can afford to do that. Some white people can't. And they're just kind of stuck with where they live. So I agree with him that we should focus. I have so many thoughts about this. I don't even want to say them. So,
but he's right, because if you're in a predominantly, okay, so my house that I lived, my street was pretty much black people. Mm-hmm. The neighborhood that was right next to mine was mixed, but the street that I lived on was pretty much all black people. Never had a bad word to say to anybody. Everybody was very polite and nice to me, but they were all older and they all were in the neighborhood for decades before I got there. But if I walked up to one of my neighbors and said, you know what, as a white guy, what I think you black people should do, they're going to be like, get the frick out of here.
And I wouldn't blame them.
That's exactly that's exactly what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I grew up, my mom, 3 jobs, poor, no dad, blah, 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 blah. And it was in a mostly black neighborhood. But, and I've talked about this before on this show and other shows. It's like back then it didn't seem to be a big issue back then. Like I think people got along better in the 80s and 90s than they seem to do now. Like I don't remember any racial tension.
And it's social media, because they're just pumping in shitty videos that people get all amped up about.
Maybe gaslighting. But to Scott Adams' point, he's right. It's like, why am I helping them? They don't seem to appreciate it. At least the loud people on social media anyway. So I'll just take care of my people.
Pretty much, yeah. Okay, so this next one, I'm going to go over here and do this.
So let's have the conversation right now. I bring in cartoonist, author, creator of Dilbert, host of the YouTube show Real Coffee with Scott Adams.
He looks like Dr. Drew.
Thank you very much for taking the opportunity.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chris.
All right, so let's get the big things out of the way. People who are new to the situation and have heard that one soundbite say, the guy's racist. What do you say to people who heard that and say, Scott Adams is racist? Are you?
No. In fact, I often say it would be stupid to judge people any way other than individually. You would just be hurting yourself. You'd just be cutting yourself off from, half of the good people in the world or some number. So judging people by anything other than their individual character never makes sense. And certainly I wouldn't say that.
Did you know that this was going to happen?
But Chris, I intentionally courted controversy, but it's something I do often in my live streams.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to attract attention so that I could have a productive argument. Now, there's a frame or a context here that probably almost none of your audience is familiar with, and that would really change how they see this.
Facts, Doc, facts.
Yeah, I agree.
Could I give you a little context?
Please. That's what the whole conversation's about, Scott. Give me the context.
All right. All right, so if you knew me as a cartoonist and all you heard was the headline, you did a racist rant, and then you heard the video, there's really no other way to interpret it than the worst possible way. And I would agree with that. But if you knew me as what I'm probably had more impact on the world is some of these books, which are from philosophy to persuasion to how to deal with this situation, actually, and other online controversies and arguments. But this one's the most effective one, and this is in the domain of personal growth, personal success. So I'm actually one of the most, I would say, noted people in the field of success and the tools of success. In fact, if somebody wrote a book on success today, they would almost have to reference my work. It's pretty much pervasive in other work as well. So if you knew that my background included being a hypnotist, if you knew that I work in the self-development specific individual success field, and that I'm noted for that, and you know that I like to court controversy because that's part of persuasion, you do a little hyperbole, your energy comes to you, and then you reframe it, which is what I'll do today for your guests. Then you reframe it, and then everybody leaves happy. So that was the model. What I did not count on is that that my audience, which is they know me, so they would know what I was up to. In fact, they knew right away. As soon as I said it, my audience said, "All right, what are you doing? What kind of play is this? What's the long game?" And of course, I was explaining it to them the entire time. But what happened was it got bigger than I expected. It became a worldwide cancellation. So I had to wait a little while, let all the noise dissipate, let the energy dissipate a little bit. And then I thought, well, this is about the time. And you're actually kind of the perfect person to talk to.
Nice
because
talking.
I think
I appreciate you taking the opportunity.
Off the hook.
What was that?
I think Scott Adams is sounding a little, to use a quote, too clever by half. Like, I think he just said what he said because he just wanted to say it at the time. He's like, well, I put a lot of thought into it. I'm like, whatever. Plus, he's going, well, I'm known for self-help and stuff. You know what he's known for the general public? Being a race realist, saying what he said, and drawing cartoons. I think if you say Scott Adams,
but he was talking about basically you have to poke the bear. We do it on our show. We poke the bear a little bit.
Yeah, fortunately for him, he has enough money where he can afford to poke the bear and say what he thinks, which I'm envious of him.
We poke the bear because it's our opinion in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So he had the same thing, just because he has a bigger audience and he's known as a right-wing commentator. Of course they're going to go after him. Of course they're going to.
I think it's silly to think of him as a right-wing commentator.
I think it is too.
He spoke the truth, and it wasn't this like eye-opening epiphany. Oh my God,
I hate black people and all. He didn't say any of that stuff.
Or even if you took it the other way, it's like some eye-opening epiphany that, gosh, in 2025, if there's like 60% black people in our neighborhood, maybe I shouldn't live there. Like, every white person thinks that. You just can't say it.
Here's the thing. If I'm in a neighborhood that has got a lot of crime, regardless if it's Puerto Ricans or Mexicans or black people or white people or gangs, I'm going to feel the same way no matter what the fuck it is. It's negative. It's affecting my house. It's affecting my neighborhood, and I need to fucking leave. He just happened to say it because it's like Don Lemon said it. Other people have said it about black Americans don't trust white people and don't like them, and he was just commenting based off of what they said.
Yeah, that's right. His point was like, well, if they don't like us, then maybe we just shouldn't hang out together.
Yeah,
basically. So
again,
the problem is
if I walked to one of my my black neighborhood and say, well, the black community needs to do this, they would tell me to go stick it.
But here's my problem. Not really a problem, my thought, and I'm just spitballing here. Let's say I live with a group of people that don't like me. Why am I leaving? How about they fuck off?
Yeah.
Why do I have to spend money moving further and further and further away while the government continues to install people that don't like me in bigger and bigger areas? That makes it more expensive and harder to continue moving. It's called white flight, I think is the term.
Yeah.
So, like I said, he's got enough money that he can live in the fucking woods if he wants. But not all of us do.
You can live in the woods. That's funny.
I'd love to live in a neighborhood like surrounded by Mormons, to be honest with you. They're nice, smiley, they're clean. But they got money, and I don't.
Look,
so I can't.
Full disclosure,
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. But just, Scott, while
Yeah,
you get
so
whatever
you-
you want, I just want people to know, I called you because I said, I got to know why you were doing this, because I know your work and you're too smart. And I've never, ever heard you saying things that were like David Duke. And you had
That's
to
not
know
fair.
that the
It's
outcry
not fair
would
at all.
be huge.
It's not David Duke.
If I sit here and tell you 6% of the population is responsible for 47 or 48% of violent crimes, I'm not David Duke. I just looked it up on the FBI. It's
Oh,
statistics.
according to somebody, you're racist for saying that. Oh, look out.
But math isn't racist.
No.
Like it's just.
It's the same people that make excuses for everything. Now it's a race thing. It's the same thing. Well, why didn't you do it this way? Well, I had to do this, and well, it's just it's my computer crashed, and like every excuse in the book. Now the excuse is race. It's the same motherfuckers that did it before, and they're just using a different method because people want. They're worried about people being shut down. Like, oh, I don't want to be racist. So I'm not gonna poke the bear. I'm not gonna do nothing because
But that's
I'm still worried about somebody calling me racist.
That's exactly what
It's
I
exactly
do.
why they're fucking doing it.
And I do that too. I
I
say,
don't give a shit.
Well, but see, I do because I have kids that may come across stuff that I do. I have their mother may come across my boss. So I have.
But
Like,
you
am I
can't
really
worry
gonna-
about that because somebody could take something out of context and fucking use it.
Well, you're about to have a roommate. I could do that. I'm just saying I have things I have to worry about that are more important to me than spouting off how I really feel about stuff in some cases.
Well, I understand that, but if you say, well, the sky's purple, oh, were you racist about the purple?
No, I got you. I mean, like
they
I
can
said,
use it over anything.
you're right. The neighborhood I live in now, I have lived in a mostly black neighborhood when I was younger. And like I said, it was fine because it was back in the 80s, 90s. I've lived in an almost all Hispanic neighborhood, which was actually great. They're great neighbors, no problem. The neighborhood I live in now, I could go out to the store, maybe to the Costco and to the 7-Eleven and not see a white person the entire time. It's an awesome neighborhood. You know who isn't in this neighborhood?
Karen's?
No. The kind of people that Scott Adams is saying to get away from. It's Hispanics, Arabs, Indians, and white people in my neighborhood. No, the only problem I have here is Arabs drive like maniacs because they all think they're in the F1. Other than that, no problem. So it's interesting.
I mean,
That would make me not a racist, right? Because I'm like, this
and there
neighborhood's
is
beautiful.
so basically when my grandparents moved from Detroit to the suburbs, they're racist.
No, yeah, that's a good point, Derek. No.
So when my Aunt Kathy, her best friend, got the shit kicked out of her by about 7 black girls in the girls' bathroom, and then my grandparents basically said, "All right, it's time to get out of here."
When
They're racist.
No, you're right. And it's like when my kids grew to school age, after we were done homeschooling them and they actually had to go to somebody who knew how to do algebra and shit, which we didn't.
Yeah.
We moved to a neighborhood, and you know what I looked at when I was looking at the neighborhood? Demographics.
Yeah, school system.
Because I'm a father.
even though you don't have young kids anymore, you're still going to look at the schools.
Dude, yes. Look at even my oldest daughter is pregnant now, and she lives down south in Tennessee. And I was thinking maybe I should move down there to be around to help. And I looked at the first thing I looked at. I'm like, okay, she lives in this city. Let's take a look at the demographics of the city. It was literally the first thing I looked at.
Yeah.
Is that wrong? I don't know.
No, it's not.
It's true.
You don't want to. You don't want to be living next to gang members or.
No. I'm going to be near my granddaughter, as I found out the other day.
Aw.
Oh, that's so awesome. Here, check this out. Move a little bit. There's the first. Well, it says I drool burgundy and gold with the Redskins logo.
Oh,
jeez. All right. Anyways, back to the show.
That's funny.
And that the intentions would be assumed. So I had to know why you did it.
Yeah.
And that's why I have you on tonight.
Yeah.
So tell me.
Right. So obviously the hyperbole I used, get away from black people, there's no way to do that. And, I don't even recommend it. It's not really a good idea. So that's what makes it high energy. It's sort of like when Trump says, if the wind stops blowing and the windmills stop turning, your TV won't work. I'm pretty sure he knows that's not the case. But it makes everybody go, what? You're wrong. You don't understand. And then all the energy comes to him. So I've read.
I don't know that he knows that, but you do. But you do. And you're not going to get the defense that he will. With Trump, people sometimes write him off by, look, he just says things.
Yeah.
You're a smart guy who we've all been reading and watching for years. So you knew it was going to go like this, and you still did it.
No, I knew it would go, it would create controversy in a small way, but I thought it would stay within my audience. Because my audience usually understands me, and they kind of get the whole thing. So there's a reframe coming. They haven't heard yet. But the notion is that race relations are terrible. The context was that there was a Rasmussen poll, which I did not rely on for my comments, but I discussed it as a starting off point. So the Rasmussen poll said there were some alarming percentage of black Americans. It was a smallish sample, but it was still statistically within 8% of margin of error. They said that something like 26% would not say that it's okay to be white. Now, I have a problem with the question because I think everybody interpreted it differently. So question. We can, if you would allow me, I don't believe the poll is important to the point. So, after I talked about it, you'll see on the comments that I said the way things are going. The way things are going, the signals are blaring in every way. Social media shows an anti-whiteness bias. Businesses do, ESG, CRT, DEI, all these corporate and government things. They all start with sort of white people, which is true, were the source of racism for years. Still largely the source of continuing systemic racism, which I very much agree is a big deal, especially in the schools, especially in the teachers' unions. I think that's the worst place for systemic racism. And so you've got this entire environment, every commercial, every TV show, it's just everywhere. Now, what your audience might not know is that when I complained about black people having a bad attitude about white people, that was me saying nothing about black people. It was saying, I don't want to be around people who have a bad feeling about me. Now, that's the only point that everybody should agree with. If we can only agree with that point, if you can stay away from people who have a bad opinion of you, that's a pretty good idea. How you know which they are, don't look at every black person and imagine that they're all the same. The most ridiculous thing anybody could imagine is that if I talk about black America, that I ever mean all of them. How could anybody think that? If I say,
can you pause real quick?
Black people.
I have a statement on that. So the reason I agree with what he's saying, you should take people individually, which I do for my whole life. So I don't ever judge anybody when I meet them based on the color of their skin or anything like that. The problem is the black community uses the royal we to describe themselves as if one black person speaks for all black people.
Yeah.
Rarely have I heard a white person talk about we.
Yeah.
Like it's so you get that drilled into your head nonstop. You're like, oh, well, I guess maybe they all do think like that. I guess maybe.
Exactly.
Which they don't. And that's not fair to anybody.
No.
White people, black people at all. Like you should be judged on who you are as a person, not who like Derek is. To me, like we have similar skin color. That doesn't mean
we're the same person. Yeah.
But then when you look at the voting results for the Obama election, 97% of black voters voted for Obama. Yeah. So are you telling me that 97% of black people agreed in lockstep with his policies, or tell me that they voted for him because he's only half white. Well, I mean,
I talked to so many people that said they voted for him because he's black. That's the only reason they voted for him.
he's not even black, but yeah, I mean, I got you. He's like blackish. Listen, he has he's half black and half white. He's a biracial.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's another thing that kind of gets my goat is when people are like, oh, he's black president. I'm like, well, he's not really. That's not fair to biracial people.
Okay, so this is kind of a long clip, so we're gonna move on. I've got a few. I've got this one right here that we're gonna talk about.
Some of you know that Scott Adams expired. May his soul rest in peace. And the one thing that I respect Scott for is that he wasn't afraid to speak up, even at the risk of losing everything. He loved Black Americans and all people enough to tell them the truth. And that's rare in the white community nowadays. With white people, not white community. That's a liberal word. That's a socialist word. But with white people, it's rare to see them loving Black people enough to be honest with them, knowing that some of them, most of them, not all, but most of them are getting angry. Scott Adams loved them enough to tell the truth. New York Times reported Scott Adams, who experienced, whose experience as a bank and phone company middle manager gave him the material to create the comic strip Dilbert, a daily satire of corporate life that became a sensation, but was dropped by more than 1,000 newspapers after he made what they call the racist. They call it a racist. It's not racist. No such thing as racist. But they say a racist comment on his podcast in 2023, died on Tuesday at home in Pleasanton, California. That's in the Bay Area. He was 68 when he expired. May his soul rest in peace. Here's that. Watch this on CTV News.
With comedic cynicism, it was a depiction of office culture that resonated with readers across the globe.
Luckily, everyone seems to be developing an immunity to the toxic environment.
At its height, Dilbert, the comic strip, created by Scott Adams, had its own TV series. In print, the mouthless, bespeckled character appeared in 2,000 newspapers worldwide in at least 70 countries.
There was 1,000 newspapers that stopped carrying Dilbert because of those comments he made.
Fortunately, at that point, nobody read newspapers anymore, so it really didn't.
And most of those are probably all the same company, too. All of them.
You're probably right.
25.
So they want to use it as the headline of 1,000 newspapers. No, it's probably all the same company that basically said, we're not going to carry anymore because he's racist.
I'm surprised there's 1,000 newspapers left.
You know, shit.
5 languages.
I spent 16 years in cubicles, first at a big bank and then at the phone company for 8 years. I became more cynical, if that was even possible.
Decades of Dilbert also gave way to multiple books, though the laughs came to an abrupt halt in 2023.
I got a call from my syndication company, and they said, we can't do business with you. We're done.
Adams was dropped by some of the world's largest newspapers following a racist remark he made on his YouTube show where he referenced
all liberal fucking bullshit. All of them. New York Times, Boston Globe, LA Times.
Post, Washington Post, probably.
Yeah, all liberal bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
A poll that asked people if they agree that it's okay to be white, a phrase used by white supremacists. At the time, Adams insisted his comments were taken out of context, though he made no apology.
So Dilbert is now fully canceled.
Last year, Adams revealed he had prostate cancer that had spread to his bones.
So we'll see how far we get, okay?
Just last week, Adams appeared on his live stream for what would be his final public appearance.
This is going to be a tough week.
Early Tuesday, his ex-wife appeared on Adams' live stream to share the news of his passing.
He's not with us right anymore.
Delivering one final written message left behind by Adams himself.
I had an amazing life. I gave it everything I had.
Scott Adams was 68 years old.
Hey, pause real quick, if you don't mind. I got to give Scott Adams credit. He must have been a good guy. His ex-wife was crying when he died.
Yeah.
That says something.
Would your ex-wife be crying when you die?
Honestly, I don't know. Maybe. It's not a definite no, and it's certainly not a definite yes. Maybe.
Here's the February
I hope so.
2023 clip of.
I've got one more Scott Adams clip because I had two more, but everything that they played in this clip was the other one. So you got one more clip after this.
Scott Adams advises white people to avoid black communities. Watch this from X.
So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed.
That's deep. That's the truth. And that's love. And they took his things away from him because he told the truth. But it didn't stop him. May his soul rest in peace. I really gotta miss you. Everything about you, your smiling face. I really gotta miss you, my friend. There's a high.
Yeah. So we're gonna skip this again.
Jesse Lee Peterson getting down.
Get it.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Gutfeld commented on Scott passing away, so we're gonna end the Scott stuff with Mr. Gutfeld.
Equation, not about truth and not about falsehood, but about persuasiveness. And he said this guy was not only going to get the nomination, he was going to win, and nobody took it seriously. But he risked everything. He lost so much of his work. He was a syndicated columnist. He ended up losing a lot of papers. He later lost his book publishing, but he stuck to his guns. I've been in this business for 15 years and at Fox, and my career didn't change, literally did not change dramatically until I ran into Scott Adams. He became my mentor. The stuff that you hear me talk about a lot when I'm on this show and on the 5 is because I get up in the morning and I listened to Coffee with Scott Adams. Probably the best morning show ever. Sorry, Fox and Friends. And it was because it wasn't a show. It was just him in his home. And the reason why it was so good was that he was your friend, and he would sit there and he had his cat and he would just talk about the stuff, but he would give you a filter into everything. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because if you aren't aware of this monumental person, that it sounds like it's hyperbole, it is not. This guy changed public policy. There are people in the White House that are grieving right now over him. There are people who are related to Trump who thank him for helping them understand their parent. It's incredible. So, there's a lot of things you don't know about him. And you may never know anything about him because he never bragged about it. But he had such an impact on this world that, to me, it's like surreal that he's no longer in my life. He was the most important intellectual figure that I've had in my lifetime, and I've been lucky to have more than a few. Michael, you've had him on your show 3 times. Tell me about your relationship with him. And
well, I mean, those morning coffees that he did, a couple of times he said, I'm really funny.
Yeah.
You should follow my Twitter. So when someone like Scott Adams validates you in that way, it really kind of like, oh, maybe I'm doing something right. Because otherwise on the internet, all you get is hate, hate, hate. What he also did.
Michael Malice looks different without like a hat on.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not. I saw the name before the face, and I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. He had this book, which I will recommend to everyone, called.
And it looks like he's gained weight too, right?
It happens.
Yeah, but he's dressed differently.
Reframe your brain.
It's amazing.
And I'll give you so how this book is if you have an idea that's in your head, you reframe it and everything changes. And what he had is the regular framework is you should do the best at your job. The reframe is your job is to find a better job, which what Kat is doing right now.
Yeah.
It's only up from here. But point being, if you think about it in that terms, like, wait a minute, I'm not trying to be stuck at this desk for 5 years. I'm trying to be stuck at this desk until something better comes along. And just that one sentence changes how you look at everything. So his advice, thank you, from that one person like Scott, his advice wasn't just political. It was very much as someone from a very corporate background, which is what Dilbert was about. Maybe you should read it sometime. It was very much about how you can maximize your life.
Yeah.
And when you see someone whose flame burns that bright succumb, it's hard.
Yeah.
And he wasn't that old.
Yeah, I know. And
he fought like a tiger for the end.
Yeah, he was. He did his last show yesterday and then died this week. He was going to do a show today, and then he told his caretaker, he goes, I'm going to die today. And he died. He couldn't, but he wanted to do a show. The job thing is really interesting because he helped me. He made me, I've been fired 3 times. And he asked me at one point, he goes, after you got fired, did your life get better or worse? Right. And I go, it got better. Yeah. And he goes, the people, when they get fired, think it's the worst, but it never is.
It's like that breakup with someone you shouldn't have been with to begin with.
Yes.
Like, I'm free now.
And he has a great framework for when you do get fired or when you get broken up. It was a great frame. Like, let's say you ask a girl out or a guy out, in your case, Kennedy, or both.
Okay.
Oh, I'm now bisexual. How exciting.
It's the glasses. It's the glasses.
And the person says no, and it can really hurt your ego unless you say, oh, it's just not a good fit. Yeah. And that was his framework. It was that whenever you get rejected, whether it's you don't get a job or the girl, it's, oh, it obviously wasn't a good fit. And it just lifts this incredible thing off you. Did you know Scott at all?
Yeah, I had him on my former Fox Business show before, and he was great. Like, this is someone, and I always love those non-traditional thinkers. They're people who can never be put into a certain category because they're undefinable, and they're undefinable because they're constantly pulling the world apart and looking at it from different angles and putting it back together. And it's very uncomfortable for people because they want to see the world one way, and they want the world to be black and white and very simple. And he was a person who looked at a complex world and simplified it for people. And he did that through systems. Like, he was a big believer in systems.
Systems, not goals.
Yes.
Like, if you,
right.
it's not enough to have a goal.
That was one of his famous quotes.
Yes.
Losers have goals, winners have systems. And it's a very profound thing. And when you can get out of that and look at the world and operate in a systems or
I don't get why he was waiting around for insurance approval instead of just finding the best doctor and paying cash. Talk about a huge mistake. Interesting. I didn't know that part of it, where he was looking for insurance.
I didn't either. My only thought was, yes, you get cash discounts when you go get medical treatment, but fighting cancer, that may have been even beyond his ability to. I mean, that can get up in the 6 figures. I don't know. I didn't know that either, though.
oriented world, you will engage much more successfully. But I want to know from you, when was the last time you talked to him? And I want to know a little bit about the conversation you and Dr. Drew had with Scott.
Well, I talked to him on Sunday. I went on his show.
Oh, yeah, Kaiser Permanente. They're okay. Yeah.
Well, it used I don't know if they've changed, but it used to be that you had to go to a Kaiser facility and see Kaiser doctors. You couldn't go anywhere out of network. So you were stuck with whoever they had. I don't think it's like that anymore, but I know that they had a bad rap. They were like the worst for a while.
But at that point, he was so drugged up. He was just, and so we would text. I told him I loved him, and he hearted it. And
yeah, because with Kaiser, it'd be like, well, you have to go see a specialist, okay? They're not available for a month and a half, and then you can go see it.
Yeah.
What?
Or you'd have to go to a Kaiser general practitioner to get a referral.
Yeah.
And it was just
it
like
was ridiculous.
You had to jump through hoops and stuff.
But the care I got was okay. It was just the hoops.
Mm-hmm.
And I just been texting back and forth, but it was getting harder and harder for him to talk because the amount of cancer drugs that he was on to deal with the pain in it was. But he was mentally there, but he just couldn't, But I told him that I loved him, and I talked to it was. It's just amazing. And he had this other concept, Tyrus, that I think describes you. He invented the phrase talent stack. He said that you don't have to be super great at one thing to achieve. It's better to be good. If you're good at a bunch of things, the combination of them makes you unlike anybody else. So being great physically, but also being eloquent and funny and developing public speaking, all of a sudden you're Tyrus.
Yeah.
You're not just this athlete. And it's like his idea of talent stack, everybody should be thinking about.
He, to me, is the ultimate alpha male.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will look at his stature and be like, what are you talking about? It's not about his bench press, but the way he led his life as a man. It's very hard to be a narrator on the human condition without getting emotionally involved. And to me, he was a narrator for this time. When we look back in history, they will call him a scholar because he was able to talk about things. You never saw him fired up. He never got personal because he was just telling it like it is. And it's not an easy thing to do. Now, I got a chance a couple times to get a chance to talk with him in the green room when he was on this show. And he blew my mind because I knew who he was from Dilbert.
Yeah.
But when he said, Tyrus, I'm a fan, people say that because usually there's a 6'8" monster saying, oh, I'm a huge fan. But it wasn't just that. But then he was like, the way he talks to you, it goes from a conversation to all of a sudden there's this learning tree.
Yeah.
And everything he says, you don't understand it then. He's one of those guys when you walk 10 feet away from him, you're like, oh, hey, come back here. Because he plants seeds in your head. He doesn't push. He's never going to tell you, think my way or you're stupid. He's going to present you, and you take from it what you want. And if you don't want anything, that's fine. But it will still be here. And that's a rare thing to do. And especially when an entire half of the country, mainstream, went out of their way to destroy him because they misunderstood him, because they looked at it just like they look at me, and they think thug, bunch of baby. They look at me, and they see my big stature, and they think I'm dumb. They look at him, and they think he's weak, and they can pick on him. And they couldn't pick the right thing. They went after him in ways. They took away his life, his art form. They took away but they never, ever silenced his voice. And that is hard to do without cracking, without giving into something, without reacting one day at the supermarket and punching somebody because of he had the world coming down on him. And all he did was presented. He was like a scientist. Here's a theory. And he was doing it in a time where it was about feelings and selfish, and that's the one thing he never was. And I appreciate the time I was with him. He gave me an autographed copy of one of his books. And when he asked for mine, I was like, it's like watercolors to Picasso, bro. And he was like, but he was like, no, I'm a big fan.
Jamie, you were a regular listener, right, of his thing?
Yeah, and I'll keep it pretty short. And I remember the only time I met Scott Adams, he came over and he said, I'm a big fan of Tyrus. And he, like, real quickly, but sincerely, like, you introduced me to coffee with Scott Adams, and I grew up not having anyone that gave me advice. Like, I didn't have anybody in my family that gave me advice, and so I would look to books and people like that, and Scott Adams was like the number one, and like Michael said, sometimes you could hear, he would say one thing. There's this thing, Greg, it's called Meaning Wave, and somebody put Scott Adams, like, words to music, and I've been listening to it for months.
Akira the Dawn.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's like, it's these songs, it's just his songs, all the framings against, like, electronic music. It's incredible.
It's incredible. And the one thing I always remember is he said, it's about the reframing. He said, whenever you're having like a horrible day and things keep going wrong and worse and wrong, like the way you described my life in the introductions.
Yeah.
He says, you say to yourself, the universe owes me.
Yeah.
The universe owes me. And I think of that multiple times a day. And so
Could I say something real quick? I want everyone to think about this. Everyone knows never when you're going to go. He knew it was his last day, and he went with a smile on his face.
Yeah.
I only hope I can go out like that.
Yeah. No. True to the service nature of Scott, he was teaching us how to live, and his last thing was to teach us how to die, which is amazing.
Class dismissed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Yeah, so R.I.P. Scott Adams. Yeah, pretty remarkable guy, entertaining guy with Dilbert. So yeah, rest in peace.
He was a great comic artist, and he was very brave and had the money to say the things that everybody else was already thinking.
Yeah. Well, at the end, he didn't have the money. They took it all away from him.
Well,
but he still, yeah,
can't take it with you, as they say.
So I find people interesting that are worth being examined,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he was an interesting person.
Yeah,
regardless if you agree with him politically or whatever, the guy was an interesting dude, and stuff like that is interesting to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with him 100% about his politics and the things that he said. He was fortunate, and we are fortunate that he had the money to say it. Unfortunately, the world's become, it's like trickle down freedom. Used to be trickle down economics. If you give powerful people more money, then it'll go downhill to everybody else. Now you have to have a lot of money, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Scott Adams, whoever, to say the truth. Whereas if you're poor and depend on a job, you're muffled a bit. So I don't know.
I don't necessarily agree with that, but yeah, we can move on. Okay.
Well, hold on. I got one more thing about Scott Adams.
Sure.
What's your thoughts on Last Minute Christians? Because that's apparently what he was. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that he basically said that he's welcoming being meeting God and meeting Jesus. I don't know. I think some people say stuff like that when they're about to die. So, I mean, if that's true, then amazing. But it's like there's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people that say stuff that's uncharacteristic when they're about to die.
He was doing what it's called Pascal's wager. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Okay. Pascal's wager says this: if you accept Jesus and God, then if you're right, you have a chance to go to heaven. And if you're wrong, then you're just worm food.
Yeah.
If you don't accept Jesus and God, either way, you're worm food. So it makes more sense to go ahead and accept Jesus and God. It's like a logic puzzle.
Yeah. And as somebody like me that believes that there is a life after death, maybe he saw it.
Maybe.
Only he knows, and he's passed, so.
Well, it's a shame he passed.
Yeah. So, yeah. R.I.P. Scott Adams.